Arlington police need your help trying to find this suspicious person after a fire breaks out on Lake Street. We'll have the latest on this investigation. What do students and teachers think of the current condition of Arlington High School, with a major vote looming on whether they will get a new school or not? A preview to a special AHS series is next. A new plan in the works to give Arlington Heights an economic makeover, which includes the potential for the Balich building to make a comeback. We'll have a full report. And the Chelsea football team comes all the way across the pond to give Arlington students a refreshing clinic on teamwork and tolerance. This is ACMi News.
Arlington police need your help identifying a suspicious person walking near a Lake Street home that caught fire Saturday night on May 11th. Hello, I'm Carla Dorado.
And I'm James Milan. Police say it's the home of a rabbi and his family, and they conduct religious services at that residence. The family managed to get out of the home safely after the fire alarm was tripped around 11 p.m. The Arlington Fire Department extinguished flames on one side of the house and quickly determined that the blaze was suspicious. Arlington police say at this point there's no evidence that this could be a hate crime based on the family's religious practices, but Acting Chief Julianne Flaherty told ACMi News that police can't rule it out either. Here's the security video of the person police are looking for. The footage shows a man or woman walking away from the area at the time of the fire. Police are hoping someone recognizes the person or the way they're walking. Anyone with information is asked to call the Arlington Police Department at 781-643-1212.
A bizarre car accident at Mass Ave and Forest Street on May the 13th that police say could have been a whole lot worse. The scene just after 3:30 p.m. A motorist veered off Mass Ave, jumped the curb, and slammed a sedan into the front of the bright white laundromat. Some news helicopters hovered over the scene for about 20 minutes while police began their investigation. The force of the crash took out a brick wall, glass windows, and some laundry machines. No word on how fast the driver was going, but as you can see, the force of the crash heavily damaged the structure. Arlington police say the driver was not hurt, but shaken. He was transported to an area hospital for evaluation. The building inspector has deemed the building structurally sound. No word on what caused the crash.
The town's Department of Planning and Community Development has put the finishing touches on what's known as the Arlington Heights Action Plan. It's designed to give Arlington Heights the chance to jumpstart its economy, which has been on some shaky ground since the 2008 crash.
ACMi's Jeff Barnes says that what began as a grassroots effort by residents may soon become a reality. And the good news is we may have found a new occupant for the Balich 5 and 10 building on Mass Ave.
Storefronts, sidewalks, busy streets, and mass transit. All the ingredients are here for people to bring their money to Arlington Heights, but things could be better according to town officials. That's why hundreds of town leaders, residents, and business owners met in recent years to kick some ideas around to revitalize an area that's seen its share of loss recently. This concern began with a very small group of concerned Heights residents.
About 2 or 3 years ago, we had a group of very passionate residents from the Heights who came to me, came to the planning department and said, we want to improve the Heights. And they call themselves Support Arlington Heights. It was a group of, started as 5 or 6 women, and then it blossomed into a bigger group. And they really prompted us to look at how we could go through a planning exercise to figure out how to improve the Heights. And that's just what we did under the guidance of the planning department, received a grant, a $30,000 grant from the state, used that to fund technical assistance from the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, the MAPC. And they've put together a set of recommendations that are looking at doing just what you mentioned, revitalizing the Heights, allowing for more development, trying to create structures that will attract more business, as well as taking a look maybe specifically at that Gold's Gym parcel and seeing what we can do there to really activate economic activity right there in that parcel.
The Mass Avenue corridor here in Arlington Heights has already been identified as a prime opportunity for considerable economic growth. Town leaders say hundreds of residents have already made suggestions, one of which is having a sit-down restaurant or a brewery with live entertainment somewhere in this vicinity. They also are suggesting a lot more improvements to parking as a result. They're also asking for more things like community events and much more public art. Town leaders say one bright spot is a possible plan to bring the Balich 5 and 10 back to life.
One common thread from the beginning of these conversations was the desire of people who live in the Heights for a tavern or a pub. And I think that has been a focus on, how do we bring that type of nightlife or amenity to the Heights. And interestingly enough, I think very soon the redevelopment board is going to be hearing an application for a pub to go into the former Balich 5 and 10. So not a direct result of the implementation of any aspects of this plan, but I think a lot of, and what I heard is the person who's going to be opening it up went to many of these Heights community meetings, and from those meetings and hearing about the passionate desire for such a use, said, you know what, I can probably make a business work here.
And that comes as great news to the owner of the Yasu restaurant just across the street from the old Balich building.
It's very good for the place, it's very nice. Yes, I like it. I like it.
The ultimate plan details 6 key recommendations, among them zoning, design standards, and working with the MBTA to spur more business growth. And to do that, one resident tells us, the price must be right.
It also makes me wonder if the rents aren't too high for a lot of businesses to get started in, and that makes me sad. But we have some services here I think we could use more.
One thing everyone in the Heights can agree on, they want to see much more of this and less of this. For ACMi News, I'm Jeff Barnes.
Read more about the Arlington Heights Action Plan. Just go to Arlington website, arlingtonma.gov.
It's been a long time coming. Residents will soon decide if Arlington gets a new high school in a special election set for June 11th. The project is slated to cost $291 million, with the state contributing roughly 30% of the cost. There have been presentations on the current conditions of the aging high school, so with less than a month to go before the special election, ACMi News takes you inside the school to see just how students are learning and what they think their school needs. Brenda Mahoney has a preview of this special series.
We spent several days at Arlington High School, observing classrooms and talking to students and teachers. They all spoke of the hurdles to the building and learning, but also about overcoming them, each making their own way in a less than ideal setting. A look now at our series, Inside Arlington High School. Students often noted a lack of room to collaborate or simply get work done. During free study periods, the library is the most popular place to go, but often fills up fast. The alternative, going to Old Hall, they say, is too open and noisy. In the classrooms, students say they're too cramped, and overall, the look and feel of the current school just gets them down. But the high schoolers have learned to rise above their circumstances. They say now they just want a building to support the education that they are working so hard to get.
I know that the vote about the building is coming up, and gotta say that's a big factor when people ask me about my school, and they're like, oh, the beautiful pillars at the front, and I'm like, you should see the inside. It's horrible. It is objectively a little bit run down, and that does get in the way of me giving it high praise.
I think people will look at the price tag of the school and be like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, why are we spending all this money on the school? But I think the importance of having a school that people are excited to go to and feel proud of and are happy to go to, I think is really important.
We also showed students the architectural rendering of what a new high school would look like. It would feature an open front lobby with meeting space, a library learning commons above, discourse lab, and new gym with an indoor walking track. Here's the reaction when we played the video rendering of that proposed new school.
What? That's nice.
Okay, here we go.
That's big.
Ooh. Here's the gym.
Ooh, these fighters.
We will have more of an inside look at Arlington High School in the upcoming weeks. Back to you.
You also have the chance to tour the building and listen to a presentation on the topic. A forum will take place at Town Hall on May 21st at 7 o'clock, and tours will be held on May 23rd, also at 7 p.m., and June 2nd, a Sunday, at 1 p.m.
Two major improvement projects to tell you about tonight. The so-called Spy Pond Erosion Control Project and the Wellington Park projects are already underway. First, the Wellington Park and Millbrook project is in the midst of increasing its flood storage capacity, clearing the brook, and creating a pathway and an overlook for the park. You're looking at phase one of this $370,000 restoration. ACMi News was there as earth movers were clearing the way of much of the brush and topsoil that's been hindering that area recently. Previously, flooding in the Millbrook corridor recently caused significant damage to homes and other properties in this neighborhood. Arlington applied for and received a Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Action Grant. These funds, combined with the Community Preservation Act, or CPA, will help restore this tract of land. Town leaders say once this section of Millbrook is opened up, people can visualize the impact that future improvements can have on the 2.7-mile corridor between the Arlington Reservoir and the Mystic Lakes.
Meanwhile, just over a mile away at Spy Pond Park, temporary fences are set up to tackle what will turn out to be a $640,000 project. Workers have begun stabilizing the pond's shoreline along town-owned property to stop erosion. And they'll also replant new grass and bushes to clean up the water's edge, build a new timber overlook, and create a pathway through the park. Spy Pond's banks have eroded over the years because of bad weather and park users walking off trails and onto the banks, making the ground unstable. Much of the fencing near Scannell Field is in disrepair as well and needs replacing. Sources of funding for this project come from the CPA, a community block development grant, and a pair of generous donations by the Friends of Spy Pond.
Town meeting ended this week after 8 sessions, the longest number of meetings in recent years. Last week, town meeting members approved a capital budget that includes, among other things, $750,000 for a new traffic signal at the Minuteman Path crossing and Lake Street. There are plans to widen the path crossing near the street. The $750,000 was approved by a vote of 198 to 14. The appropriated funds put an end to a year-long search for money to upgrade that area. The amendment that would have used the $750,000 to fix some drainage problems along the Minuteman Path was struck down. Select Board member Dan Dunn cited several accidents that have occurred here since 2014, 14 crashes and 5 injuries. The plan includes a new traffic signal at the path intersection, which will coordinate with the nearby Brooks streetlight, and pedestrian signals.
And the Middlesex District Attorney teams up with a top English soccer club to teach Arlington students about teamwork and equality.
We'll tell you why the Chelsea Football Club came all the way from the UK to Arlington and why eliminating prejudice is better than any goal this world-renowned team has ever scored. That and more when we come back.
So we're grouping these lists of users together, grouping another users together, and kind of giving a different access to our trading systems.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
What is something about engineering that people don't expect?
Engineering is actually a very social and collaborative field. People think that we're behind the computers and then coding away. We're actually working together with a bunch of smart people, designing, solving problems together to connect people all across the world to trade with each other.
How do I know if I can be an engineer? Would there be signs?
Do you like solving problems?
Yes.
That's it. You ultimately have a known problem in your hand and you're trying to solve them by digging through different parts, and that's what engineering is.
Oh, okay.
Get it?
Yeah. I can use binary code and see that I have a 1 at the end, or I have a 1 at the end, which means I can video chat and I can text. What is your dream job? Or this is your dream job?
This job is my dream job because it's really exercising your creativity and innovation skills, and you get to create something out of scratch and then make something happen.
I can use a chart, or I can use a graph to figure out if I have permission to do things.
Yes. She can STEM, so can you. Learn more at She Can STEM.
More than 100 Ottoson middle schoolers were treated to an athletic workshop on football. Not the Patriots kind of football, but what the rest of the planet calls football. Middlesex District Attorney Marion Ryan partnered with the Anti-Defamation League to host a school-based workshop with members and coaches from the Chelsea Football Club all the way from London. Ryan and these players are committed to building bridges among students, bridges that go far beyond sports. The program has 2 components, a classroom workshop and an outside soccer clinic, highlighting the values of friendship, respect, and teamwork, and to reject racism or any other kind of hatred.
And it's really focused on the idea, the premise that it's hard to hate people up close And this is a way to be thinking about what a difference is, what a difference is from everybody. Even just to, the coaches are great with the kids, talking about how differently they speak, how they call soccer football, the way they have different kinds of rules. Those are all things that are different, but they're what make the world interesting. So it's just a really positive spin on, rather than you're doing something different, so therefore I don't like you, or I'm afraid of you, or I hate you even. This is, wow, how does that add to my world to get that kind of information?
Well, anti-Semitism, and in fact all forms of hate and bigotry, do not recognize boundaries, town lines, or borders. And so this is an opportunity for the educators from the Chelsea Football Club in the UK to come over here and bring the program that they do in schools around London to Arlington. And so it's a unique opportunity for the students here to get another perspective on how you fight hate and bigotry.
Chelsea was in town this week to take on the New England Revolution and won that game 3-0. These players say this program helps young students learn early in life that everyone is different, but sharing time with one another fosters an understanding that we all share in the human experience.
And there's plenty of action in the world of local sports, including an exclusive interview with one of the greatest runners to hail from the Bay State.
Let's go to Studio B with Nick Antonakis for your Spy Ponder Sports Update.
Hello Arlington sports lovers, and welcome to another edition of your ACMi Sports Update. Last week, the Touchdown Club of Arlington awarded athletes Kayla Mayo and Ryan Oosting with the 2019 Austin Award for their dedication to Arlington athletics. The Touchdown Club of Arlington has been serving the youth of Arlington, promoting athletic, social, and scholastic abilities since 1944. ACMi's news director, Jeff Barnes, met with Ryan Oosting at his second home, the track at Arlington High School, to talk about his experiences running for the Spy Ponders. Jeff asked Ryan, after all the fans, schoolmates, coaches, and Arlingtonians who cheered him on through the years, what does this extraordinary runner have to say to his ever-growing and faithful following?
You know, it's sort of like cliche, but I couldn't have done it without them. You know, it takes a village, and when people see me, they're not seeing everyone behind me supporting me. They're not seeing my coaches, my family, my friends, the fellow students, and everyone that really helps to support me. And I think they deserve to be recognized.
You will see much more of Jeff's interview with Ryan next week in a full report. But in the meantime, coming up in next week's matchups. On Tuesday, May 21st at 4 p.m., boys baseball and boys tennis takes on Winchester. At 5:45, girls lacrosse matches up against Belmont. Wednesday at 4 p.m., you can find both boys and girls tennis on the court, with girls matching up against Ursuline Academy and the boys against Wilmington. And on Thursday, boys baseball, boys tennis, and girls softball all match up against Belmont at 4 p.m., as well as boys lacrosse hosting Malden Catholic on the field. Good luck to our young athletes as they get closer to the playoff season. From ACMi Sports at Studio B, I'm Nick Antonakis. Back to you at Studio A.
Hey, thanks, Nick. That was great.
And of course, stay with us for all your latest news and sports updates. That'll do it for us here in Studio A. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm James Milan.
And I'm Carla Dorado. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you next week.
You can always check out our latest segments and newscasts on the web at acmi.tv/news. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ACMi News. If you have any news tips for us, or you wish to become a citizen journalist, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at news@acmi.tv or stop by our Studio A at 85 Park Avenue.